All right, so get this. I was reading this article about AI and how it's changing healthcare. And no, it's not about like robot surgeons or anything like that.
Hey, really?
It's about this idea of, get this, ambient AI
Okay.
and how it could actually make healthcare more human.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it all comes from this article by
Let me guess. It's from an expert.
It is.
Yeah.
This guy, Eduardo Tornos Inza, he's like a big deal in AI and healthcare. And he wrote this piece about how technology can solve this problem that's been bugging both doctors, A and D patients, screens. You know when you go to the doctor and you're trying to connect and feel heard, but they're like glued to their computer screen?
Oh, tell me about it. It's like they see right through you. It's awful. And it's so common these days.
It's like this invisible wall between you and the person who's supposed to be taking care of you. And Inza, he like really nails it in this article.
So what's his take? What can we do about it?
Well, he talks about this thing called ambient AI.
Okay. That sounds kind of sci-fi. What is that exactly?
Okay, picture this. You're talking to your doctor, right? And there's this invisible assistant in the room,
Invisible.
like a fly on the wall, except this fly is actually really good at taking notes.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So this ambient AI, it's like a super scribe.
Exactly, but you can't even see it. It's listening to everything, picking out the important medical stuff, and then, get this, it updates your electronic health record in real time.
Wow. Hold on. So no more clickety-clack on the keyboard?
Nope. The doctor can actually, like, focus on you, make eye contact, the whole shebang.
That would be amazing. But is this even possible with today's tech?
Oh, it's already happening. Inza mentions all these companies working on it, like Microsoft's got their DAX Copilot thing with Nuance, and Amazon has their AWS Health Scribe. Even Medscape's getting in on the action with their own AI scribe.
Wow, it's like everyone's jumping on this ambient AI train.
Right. But how good is it really? Like, can an AI actually pick up on the nuances of a medical conversation? I mean, those can get pretty complex.
That's the really cool part. We're not just talking about a recording here. This isn't just, playing back a conversation.
So it's actually understanding what's being said.
Yeah. Like really understanding it. Inza explains how they're training these AI models to understand medical stuff, medical jargon, the context of the conversation. It can even pick up on inconsistencies, like if a patient says one thing but then contradicts themselves later.
Oh, wow. So it's like having a second set of expert ears in the room?
Exactly. And think about it. Even the most attentive human note-taker, they might miss those little details.
Right.
But this AI is designed to catch those things.
That's incredible. So no more of that, wait, what was my dosage again?
Right, exactly. And because of all that, Inza says there are 3 major benefits here. More human connection,
Check.
reduced errors, and less admin stuff for doctors.
Less paperwork. Sign me up.
Right. These are big wins, not just for doctors and nurses and everyone in the medical field, but for us, the patients, too.
I mean, it all sounds amazing. Almost too good to be true. Are there any downsides? What's the catch?
Well, it's not all smooth sailing. There are definitely things to consider, and Inza mentions this, research and development. It's important to remember this tech is still pretty new, and we got to make sure it's actually effective and reliable in the real world.
Yeah.
Hospitals, clinics, all that.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's not like they can just roll this out tomorrow and expect everything to go perfectly, right?
Right. Healthcare moves slowly when it comes to new tech, and rightfully so. There's budgets to think about, and then they have to figure out how to make it all work with the systems they already have.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. And then there's the whole trust thing. Like, are people going to be cool with an AI listening in on their doctor's appointments?
That's huge. Yeah. And Inza really stresses that. He says human oversight is still going to be super important. It's not about replacing doctors. It's about giving them the tools to actually do what they went to school for, taking care of patients.
Totally. So it's about finding that balance between the power of AI and that human element of healthcare that's so important.
Exactly. We have to be mindful of that as this all keeps developing.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have this powerful tech that could totally transform healthcare, but it's not some magic solution. There are challenges, and we need to figure out how to use it responsibly.
Exactly. And understanding all of that, the good and the bad, is super important as we enter this exciting but also kind of complex new world of, AI and healthcare.
Okay, so we've been talking about the AI listening in, but this article, it mentions GPT-4 and how it can handle way more than just voice. So what's that all about? What does it mean for this whole ambient AI thing?
That's where things get really wild. GPT-4, it's a game changer because it can process all kinds of information, not just audio.
So what else can it do?
We're talking text, images, Heck, maybe even things like your vital signs from a smartwatch. All of that at once.
Hold on. So instead of just like listening to what I'm saying to the doctor, this AI could be watching my facial expressions, picking up on like if I'm uncomfortable or if something hurts.
Exactly. Inza, he talks about this future where ambient AI isn't just, recording. It's actually getting a much deeper understanding of how the patient is doing, like their overall state.
That's kind of mind-blowing. It's like giving doctors this superpower to see beyond what we're saying.
Right. And think about how valuable that would be. Not just for diagnosing stuff, but for figuring out the best way to treat someone.
Oh, totally. Like, if the AI knows I'm allergic to something and then it sees my face kind of like tense up when they mention a medication, it could flag that for the doctor.
Exactly. It's like having a superpowered assistant that's making sure nothing falls through the cracks. And that's not even the coolest part. Inza mentions how some companies, they're training these AIs on tons and tons of health data.
Okay, so we're not just talking about any AI here. This is like medical school AI.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And that means it can understand all the medical jargon, all the technical terms. But more than that, it can actually start to recognize patterns, things that might be relevant to certain conditions.
So it's not just about convenience then. It's about using AI to like actually make healthcare better, more accurate diagnoses, better treatments, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. The potential here is huge. And it goes way beyond just making life easier for doctors. It's about improving the quality of care itself.
It's almost like we're on the verge of this whole new era in medicine. But I mean, it can't all be sunshine and roses, right? There have got to be some challenges with something this big.
Of course, of course. And Inza, he acknowledges that. He says, look, this tech is still being developed, and when it comes to actually using it in hospitals and clinics, we got to be really thoughtful.
Makes sense. So what kind of things do we need to be careful about?
Data privacy is a big one.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about AI having access to tons of really sensitive information, right? We got to make sure that stuff is being protected.
Oh, absolutely. Nobody wants their medical records like floating around out there. So how do we make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, it's about building trust,
Yeah.
being transparent about how the technology works, and making sure that patients feel like they're in control of their information, that they have a say in how it's used.
It's funny. We started talking about AI bringing back the human touch in medicine. But this article, it really got me thinking, like, what if ambient AI could change how we even think about healthcare? Like completely change it.
Yeah, Enza even touches on this, right? He mentions the metaverse.
Yes, right. It sounds kind of out there.
It does. But imagine, what if, instead of just trying to make the doctor's office better, we use this tech to totally rethink what healthcare spaces could be?
Okay, now we're really going down the rabbit hole. So like virtual reality doctor's appointments. Instead of staring at my doctor through a screen, we're both hanging out in the metaverse. Maybe even as avatars.
Hey, it's not as crazy as it sounds. Imagine you and your doctor in this shared virtual space. It could be like totally customized for whatever you need. And the AI, right, it's there too. Seamlessly translating languages, pulling up 3D anatomical models, maybe even adjusting the virtual lighting based on your mood.
Okay, that's pretty wild. Talk about personalized medicine. But wouldn't that kind of tech be limited to people who can, like, actually use the metaverse? I mean, not everyone's there yet.
That's true. Accessibility is definitely a huge part of this conversation. But I think the big takeaway here is like Inz is pointing to this trend of healthcare becoming more virtual, more decentralized. And ambient AI, it has a role to play in all of that, making care more efficient, more accessible, no matter where you are.
So whether it's a doctor's office in the metaverse or a telemedicine appointment from my living room, this tech could be like the foundation for a whole new healthcare system.
Exactly. One that's more connected, more patient-centered. But for all of this to work, for any of it, people need to be informed. You need to understand this technology, what it can do, the good and the bad. And then you can advocate for yourself. Make the best choices for your own health.
It's like anything else, right? Knowledge is power. The more we know, the better off we'll be. So to everyone listening, stay curious, stay informed. The future of healthcare, it's being written right now. And we're all part of the story.